At 11 tonight, a specialty hospital in Gainesville is not commenting on a Jacksonville veteran's allegations of neglect. Earlier tonight, we told you about Charles Barth, who now lives his life confined to a wheelchair. In February of 2012, Barth underwent surgery at Shands Gainesville for an aortic aneurysm. His attorney says complications left him as a paraplegic from the chest down. In April of that same year, he was transferred to Select Specialty Hospital in Gainesville. Barth's attorney, Tom Edwards, says it was at that hospital where he was neglected. Barth says he was improperly restrained, tied down to the bed is how he actually describes it, and he received terrible bed sores because of it. Barth sued recently and won, but is still waiting on a settlement.